Hello and welcome to another edition of Foxxy Reviews. Recently it came to my attention that I've not reviewed one single racing game since I revamped my channel a few years back, so why not make my first be for a racing game that I absolutely loved as a kid, which of course, as you can tell by the title, is Star Wars Racer Revenge. It was developed by Rainbow Studios and published by LucasArts back in 2002 only for the PlayStation 2. The original game, titled Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, was released on multiple platforms including PC, Mac, Game Boy Color, Dreamcast, and Nintendo 64. Rumor has it Episode 1 Racer was also supposed to come out for the PlayStation, but for whatever reason, it never did. I'm actually very surprised that Racer Revenge didn't even get a GameCube release, considering the original sold over 3 million copies, plus got good reviews. But oh well, let's move on. First things first, if you're looking for a racing game with a good story, or really any story at all, then you might not like this game. Racer Revenge unfortunately doesn't have one whatsoever. You just simply pick your game type, your pod racer, and then you go on to race. Although, they do explain the setting of the game right before the opening cutscene with the usual Star Wars wall of scrolling text. The game takes place 8 years after the Phantom Menace, and Sebulba wants his revenge against Anakin Skywalker, hence the title of the game being Racer Revenge. This explains why the older Anakin is in the game, and why Sebulba's pod racer is a little bit different than the original that got destroyed. To be honest, I don't really mind the whole non-existent story thing, since the game is very much so an arcade racer, although it would have been nice to have. At the main menu, you have a small amount of game modes to choose from, such as single play, versus, and the tournament. There's no fancy game types when you go into single play, and versus is just offline multiplayer. What you do have in single play is very basic. You have your standard race event, practice, and of course time trial. You do have the option to change how many total laps you want per race event, ranging anywhere from 1 to 25 total laps. As for tournament mode, well, it's not really all that complicated. You pick whatever character you want, and they will all start out with very, very low stats, but then when you start competing and winning races, you'll earn money that can be used to upgrade your pod racer any way you'd like. You can also earn money by taking part in Watto bribes. All you have to do with this is simply destroy other pod racers during a single race event. The payout depends on the track, like usually they'll ask for you to destroy 3 guys, and in return you'll get a 50% payout increase, while others might only increase the payout by 30%. So it's definitely a good idea to get that extra money, even if you can only destroy like 1 or 2 guys per race. Either way, you'll still get a bonus, and you never know, it might come in handy in the later races. Now, since there are only 13 tracks in the game, tournament mode should only take you around an hour or so to complete. Obviously, this is not the most lengthy game out there, however, you can always play the tournament again with another character to level him up.
He's not afraid to tangle. Sending the Jawas, we've got scrap.
Visually, Racer Revenge looks pretty damn good for a 2002 game. The details on the pod racers are nicely done, I like how the characters look, and they did a great job with the graphics on the tracks as well. The only complaint I have is that when you boost, everything outside of your pod racer will become blurry for a few seconds. I get why they did this, but it actually really hurts my eyes and my stomach to the point where I have to take breaks every now and then to avoid feeling nauseous. When I first started playing the game for this review, I played for about like 3 or 4 hours straight, and I forced myself to stop because I was on the verge of vomiting. I think this is considered motion sickness, but I don't exactly know for sure. Blurry screens in video games have always been an issue for me, not just in racing games, and I don't know how many other people have the same issue as me, so I don't think I'm going to consider this as a negative on the game. I'll leave that for you guys to decide. The music and sound effects are also very nicely done. Then again, I don't think I've played a Star Wars game where I didn't like the sound, but regardless. Anakin and Sebulba both have similar engine noises like they did in the Phantom Menace, except I feel like Sebulba should be louder and more menacing, again, like in the Phantom Menace. Just like with the graphics, I do have one complaint, and this is a very minor one. The commentator can get a little annoying at times just because he doesn't really ever have anything interesting to say, but the good thing is that if you want, you can just turn him off completely, so that's good. The gameplay is what you would expect. It's a fast-paced arcade racer, it's not a simulator or realistic by any means, and it doesn't try to be. This works out perfect in my opinion because I think that if they were to try to make this a little bit on the realistic side, the game would have been completely ruined. The controls for Racer Revenge are simple. You can boost with R2, but you have to be careful because if you hold the boost for too long, it can cause damage to your engines and eventually they'll explode. You can also repair your engines by holding L2. The downside to this is that it'll make you go at a slower speed than you normally would. You can make sharper turns by holding R1, views can be changed to a triangle, and obviously you have your acceleration and brake buttons. I do have to say that the steering in this game is much better than I remembered. Everything is responsive, making slight or sharp turns is very easy to do, and, well, let's just say I'm impressed. For the most part, I thoroughly enjoyed the tracks in Racer Revenge. As I sort of mentioned, they did a great job with how the tracks look both graphically and design-wise. My favorite thing about them is that none of the tracks felt too similar to each other, which I feel is a somewhat common problem I come across in racing games. I mean, you can have 20, 40, however many tracks you want, but if they aren't all unique, then it kind of defeats the point, you know? The AI is alright. I do wish they were more aggressive, but I can't complain too much considering I've seen quite a few very recent racing games with significantly worse AI. As far as how difficult the game is, I can't say it's all that challenging by itself. However, if you were going to try to unlock all the hidden characters, then that's where I think the game can get pretty difficult. Not counting all the hidden characters, there's a total of 18 different ones to choose from. You unlock them by simply winning races in tournament mode. That's all there is to it. Hidden characters like Darth Vader, Darth Maul, and Watto can be unlocked by beating lap times, KO counts, and various other things. Now, while I'm on the subject, I saw a group of people online complaining heavily about the developers putting all these extra characters in the game, claiming that it makes no sense for them to be there and all this other crap. Okay, I am often nitpicky in my reviews, I fully admit that, but this is like the dumbest thing I've seen people bitch about in a long time. Does it really matter if Maul or whoever is in a pod racing game? No, of course it doesn't, so who cares? Vader and Yoda were in a Soul Calibur game, for God's sakes. I don't remember hearing people cry about that. Never mind, it doesn't matter, I'm getting off track. Alright, so at this point I'm going to give you guys my final thoughts on Racer Revenge. I had a really good time with this game, probably not as much as I did when I was a kid, and very much so into Star Wars at that time, but still, I had a great amount of fun. Does it have its flaws? Of course it does, but so does every game. Do you have to be a fan of the series to like Racer Revenge? I don't think so. I would say if you like arcade racing games but know nothing about Star Wars, there's still a good chance you might enjoy it. Racer Revenge should be cheap now these days anyway. I bought mine from Disc Replay about a year ago for under $4. Me personally, I would love to see a new pod racing game on the PS4 or Xbox One sometime soon. I mean, I doubt it'll ever happen, but you never know, since Battlefront 3 is supposedly in the works. Which, to be honest with you guys, I'm really worried about the game due to who's making it. I mean, I shouldn't be as pessimistic about it as I am, but I can't help but be worried. So that'll be it for this review, guys. I want to thank you all very much for watching as always, and take care.